Hello everyone, and welcome to our joint presentation about Advanced Multilayer Cybersecurity Investigation for the Bluefield Data Processing Unit, a collaboration between NVIDIA and Custodio Technologies. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to introduce myself and remind you that we are available in the chat to answer any questions you may have. My name is Rami Aylabuni. I'm a security architect at NVIDIA, working on memory forensics and out-of-band malware detection. During this presentation, I will be accompanied by Alvin Chen, the Director of Cybersecurity at Custodio, who will be presenting the second half of this presentation. In today's agenda, we will be discussing the background of some of the current challenges faced by cybersecurity defenders and analysts. Then, we will introduce our solution to overcome those challenges, highlighting its novelty and benefits. After that, we will further explain the main components in our solution, namely the Docker App Shield and CyVestiGO. And lastly, we will present a demo of an attack and our solution's capabilities in detecting and analyzing this attack. As an introduction, let's talk about cyber attacks investigation stages. When a cyber attack occurs, security analysts often need to race against time to surpass existing defenses, investigate the root cause of the attack, the scope of the incident, and the vulnerabilities exploited by the attackers. The first stages of the investigation include collecting artifacts from the affected environment, such as operating system logs, application logs, network traffic, file system data, and hosts memory data. These stages are followed by processing the collected artifacts, which includes zooming into specific logs, following trails of evidence, understanding breach spread, interpreting the reason behind the success of the attack, and discovering the affected systems. After this introduction, we'll talk about the key challenges faced by security investigation professionals. Threat intelligence solutions nowadays rely on collection agents installed on the host's operating system in order to collect the data needed for attack investigation. What usually happens is that stealthy malware employs several hiding techniques in order to hide its existence in the host. And this is possible mainly because malware and data collection agents run in the same domain, which enables this arms race between these agents and the malware, which sometimes ends with the malware silently taking over and tampering with the collected data. The second challenge is the high CPU and memory utilization of the data collection agents while running on the host. Graphs that we are seeing on the screen illustrates the CPU and main memory utilization of 7 of the commercial threat intelligence and malware detection products currently available in the market. The average CPU utilization is about 8%, and in some cases it can reach up to 20%, while the average memory utilization is about 170 megabytes, reaching up to 600 megabytes. This amount of resource utilization becomes especially problematic when this host is supposed to reside in a data center and serve multiple clients, while its resources are allocated to the threat intelligence and malware detection agents running on top of it. The challenges presented in this slide are focused on the later phase of the investigation, which is processing and analyzing collected data in order to detect or understand an incident. On one hand, cyber adversaries are constantly improving their attacking techniques, and tools that they are using or developing are becoming better and more sophisticated. On the other hand, the cybersecurity industry is facing a major skills shortage, and there are very few professionals capable of efficiently handling sophisticated cybersecurity incidents. Also, the incident investigation process itself is time-consuming due to different factors. Among them, the fact that evidence might be scattered among different physical or virtual locations. Moreover, in attack analysis, computer security incident response professionals usually adopt repetitive process of pivoting and identifying new elements related to the attack. These processes are usually carried out manually, which is a long and tedious task. As a response to all the challenges we have seen before, we present our solution: Advanced Multilayer Cybersecurity Investigation for the Bluefield Data Processing Unit. On the top side of this figure, we can see a server in a data center. This server usually incorporates a virtualization solution, which enables the client to use his own virtualized environment. This virtualization solution can be, for example, a hypervisor, which hosts multiple virtual machines. Each virtual machine runs an operating system, such as a Windows server or a certain Linux distribution, and is allocated to a client when needed. Below the server, we can see the Bluefield 2 DPU, which is connected to the server and includes the Docker AppShield SDK running on the isolated ARM side of it. This SDK is linked to an agent that uses the out-of-band data collection capabilities of the Docker AppShield to collect its needed data from the host's memory and parse it. The agent then generates logs out of the parsed data and sends them to a listener residing in a log management system to be managed and saved for future use. Next, the CyVestiGO on the administration or the investigator's side pulls these logs whenever they are needed, automatically correlates and performs pivoting searches for events of interests, and present the finding as a graph to provide a more intuitive visualization aid to the user, highlighting events of interest based on threat intelligence. After we present our solution, we will proceed to discussing the novelty and benefits of it. Then, we will talk in more details about the properties and capabilities of the Docker App Shield and the CyVestiGO. Our solution delivers three key benefits that accelerate the crucial response time to cybersecurity incidents. The first benefit is the out-of-band hardware-based memory acquisition. Our solution runs in a trusted domain that's different and isolated from the host's applications, which conserves the computing resources of the host and does not leave a footprint of when and what data was accessed. It also provides the investigator with more reliable data for attack analysis and superior speed when compared with other memory investigation tools. The second benefit is the memory visibility in the post-attack investigation process. Most existing solutions depend on evidence recorded by the operating system, applications, and other software to generate post-attack investigation findings. Our solution automatically records timely information from memory and preserves important contexts for future investigations. The third benefit is the automated pivoting and correlation. Our solution automatically correlates and performs pivoting searches for events of interest across multiple data sources, which help the investigators save the time spent on performing manual pivoting. The upcoming slides will discuss in more details the capabilities and architecture of the different components of our solution, starting with the Bluefield DPU and the Docker SDK, then moving to the Docker App Shield and CyVestiGO. The NVIDIA Docker Software Development Kit enables developers to rapidly create applications and services on top of the NVIDIA Bluefield DPU. This SDK provides industry-standard open APIs and frameworks, such as Storage Performance Development Kit for storage, Network Acceleration SDK, which includes ASAP Squared, Emulated VirtIO, P4, and 5T for 5G technology, Security Acceleration SDK for inline cryptography, deep packet inspection, and many more. One of the offered SDKs is the Docker App Shield for out-of-band security detection, service monitoring, and data collection. Let's have a look on Docker App Shield and using its capabilities to monitor services behavior. On the left side of the screen, we can see a host system, which can have a bare metal operating system or a hypervisor with multiple virtual machines running on top of it. Inside any of these operating systems, applications are running and accessing the host's memory through the memory controller on this red lane. On the other side of the screen, we have the Bluefield DPU with a Docker SDK and Docker App Shield, which uses direct memory access to access the host's memory, then uses memory forensic techniques to find and reconstruct data structures such as process lists, thread lists, loaded drivers, process memory and integrity check on this process memory. Docker App Shield then sends this information to a monitoring agent through the Docker App Shield API. This agent monitors these structures based on a good behavior manifest, detects when critical events happen, such as code injection, process or thread termination, and sends alerts about these events to the administration of the system in order to trigger remediation and prevent the manifestation of an attack. This slide presents the different layers in the architecture of Docker App Shield. Starting from the lowest layer, which is the Bluefield accelerators, we can see that App Shield uses two accelerators. The first one is the DMA engine, which enables direct memory access from the DPU side to the host's memory. And the second accelerator is the regex engine, which accelerates searching for certain anchors inside the memory of the host. Those anchors can be, for example, the kernel base address and the Windows pool tags. The upper layers include the Docker driver and the Docker library. In the Docker library, we can see the Docker App Shield, which consists of two main components. The first component is the Docker App Shield library, which is responsible for extracting bytes from the host's memory and reconstructing kernel and user space structures or data by using memory forensic techniques. The other component is the Docker API to expose the App Shield's capabilities to the upper layers. In the upper layer, we can see the applications, which include agents running on the DPU side and call the lower layer API in order to retrieve the needed information. Docker App Shield can also be used for data collection while providing the user with the following advantages. Data collected by Docker App Shield does not require any agent to be installed on the host itself, meaning minimal to no overhead for the host resources. This way, the host's operator can allocate more resources for serving the customers. Offloading security processing and data collection to the DPU means being invisible to any malware running on the host's operating system. This provides two benefits in terms of security. First, the ability to detect a fileless or stealthy malware, which applies anti-detection and evasion techniques against detection agents installed on the host operating system. Second, the ability to reliably retrieve data without being terminated or tampered with by a malware running on the host side, which also enables out-of-band data retrieval even when the host's operating system is compromised. Docker App Shield can perform memory forensics on multiple virtual machines in parallel, while preserving the privacy of each of the virtual machine's clients. A client who's interested in data monitoring and collection on his virtual machines won't be able to collect data of virtual machines which are not owned by them. Docker App Shield is a hardware-accelerated solution which enables real-time monitoring and data collection of endpoint behavior to detect malicious tactics. Moreover, the architecture of Docker AppShield enables any developer to use its capability by calling its API, retrieve the data that they need, then send this data to a variety of systems and accomplish different types of goals, such as using machine learning for an enhanced malware detection, backing up this data for future use, or sending this data to security information and event management systems or threat intelligence systems such as CyVestiGO. In this slide, we compare the data acquisition metrics of Docker AppShield to some of the most widely used commercially available agents. In conclusion, we can say that Docker AppShield provides a more complete set of data acquisition metrics than the others. To have a similar metrics coverage without using Docker AppShield, servers are required to install a combination of different agents, which will cost additional performance and financial overhead. Other than that, in a virtualized environment, other agents require to be installed on each of the different virtual machines, while Docker AppShield is able to support agentless, parallel data acquisition from multiple virtual machines. In terms of system detection capabilities, Docker AppShield is able to accommodate to the most widely required capabilities, while other agents have blind spots. After talking about the challenges, the solution, and Docker AppShield, I will hand over to my colleague, Alvin Cheng from Custodio Technologies, who will further explain about CyVestiGO and then show a demo of an attack and our solutions capabilities in detecting and analyzing this attack.
Hi, my name is Alvin. I'm the Director of Cybersecurity in Custodio Technology. I will take over for the second half of this session before Q&A. Custodio Technology is a Singapore company set up in 2014 to provide innovative and disruptive security solutions for cyber defenders. Over the years, we have translated our R&D work into two security solutions. One in the area of cyber investigation, and the other which provide early warning on data leakage events. We will be focusing on our flagship investigation solution, CyVestiGO, which has now been extended to support the NVIDIA DPU card. The diagram here shows a high-level view of how CyVestiGO works. CyVestiGO receives its input from various sources. It integrates with your LMS or SIEM, which reside in SOC, to collect network and endpoint logs. In addition, it can also leverage on intelligent feeds from your Cyber Threat Intelligence or CTI platform and subscription. It is mandatory to have the logs, while CTI is optional. Once logs and CTI are collected, the analyst can submit a query to CyVestiGO, which kickstart two actions at the backend. First, CyVestiGO uses a built-in algorithm to automatically correlate different logs across data points. This is to reconstruct a history of what has happened. Next, it activates its built-in detection capabilities and CTI feeds to identify TTPs and IOCs. Everything will happen automatically at the backend without human intervention. Within seconds or minutes of query submission, the analyst will be presented with a visualized graph, which explains what has happened what malicious action or tools were found, and more low-level details required for more in-depth investigation. CyVestiGO generates a graph which provides the analyst with powerful UI for timeline and link analysis, helping him to identify the root cause and scope of attack. Now, let's compare investigation using the traditional method of analyzing logs with the CyVestiGO approach. First, the traditional method requires analysts to eyeball and filter through huge amount of logs to identify relevant events, understand what were captured in each event before creating new queries. This is an iterative and time-consuming process. On the other hand, CyVestiGO automates the log correlation and for some log types, automatically identify useful data points to form subsequent queries to generate more context. This process is called pivoting and will need to be performed manually by analysts when investigation is done the traditional way. Next, unlike traditional method, CyVestiGO saves you the trouble of learning SIEM-specific query language and having to remember the field names in each log. What's more, CyVestiGO displays a graph which aligns different security events to a common timeline, providing the context to assess the scope and identify the root cause of the incidents. Similar events which happen at different time frames are grouped together automatically. This graph saves the analyst the pain of eyeballing through huge volume of raw logs captured in the SIEM. Lastly, CyVestiGO also includes the ability to enrich the graph which shows what has happened in the environment. This enrichment adds to the graph two important pieces of information, which are namely indicator of compromise known as IOCs and technique and procedure known as TTPs. With that, the system is able to perform technical attributions by comparing behaviors, tools, and infra used in the current incidents with those associated with known adversaries or APT groups. Here are some benefits that CyVestiGO provides to cyber defenders. It accelerates the investigation of cyber incidents by automating the collection and correlation of relevant log events. The graph which is generated provides a holistic view of security events happening in your infrastructure so that the right decision can be made during investigation. This is extremely crucial when investigating an unknown attack or one carried out by an APT group. Next, CyVestiGO can also be used to perform proactive threat hunting. By analyzing the graph, one may identify anomalies not flagged out by security solutions, or threats which are hiding under the radar. Lastly, it is an analyst-centric solution which provides the features and information required for analyzing an incident. CyVestiGO was originally built to work with SIEM and now extended to support the new memory dataset obtained through the NVIDIA DPU agent. Let's focus on the new out-of-band memory data acquisition capabilities, as shown on the left. In the data center, DPU card with security agent will be installed to carry out continuous memory introspection to identify important security artifacts residing in the volatile memories of virtual machines. Such artifacts include process activities, network communications, and access to important system objects, for instance, registry. The agent will perform hardware-level memory access to retrieve all this data before writing them to a log repository. CyVestiGO will then access the log repo to reconstruct what has happened based on this memory data. The out-of-band DPU-assisted method to acquire memory data provides a covert method to obtain verbal information for investigator. It will work even when the operating system is submerged, or in other words, can no longer be trusted. Before we go on to a demo, let me just show a few user interface in CyVestiGO. This screen shows how an analyst can submit a query. The analyst just need to enter a query title, select the log source to utilize, a time frame, and lastly provide details pertaining to the incidents. Such details could be obtained from a SIM alerts, like an offending or suspicious IP, or name of a machines which started to make unexpected communication with external party. After a query is submitted, CyVestiGO server will perform log correlation and enrichment at the backend. Once the job is completed, the analyst will see an interactive graph which provides high-level visibility on what has happened in an IT environment. The displayed graph is made up of nodes and edges. A nodes represent entities of interest during cyber investigation. Examples of nodes include IP address, process name, computer, user, and more. An edge represents actions performed by those entities and relationship between them. Examples of edge include connection through TCP or UDP port, process creation, and more. Besides analyzing the relationship between those nodes, you can make use of the timeline at the bottom to filter events by specific time frame and understand the sequence it occurs. Malicious behavior and evidence of intrusion will also be shown in the graph. Area marked as I stand for IOCs. IOCs refer to artifacts observed on a network or operating systems which indicate a potential computer intrusion. Most cyber threat intelligence provide a list of IOCs as intelligent feeds. Area marked T on the graph indicates the observation of an adversary's behavior, also known as TTP in cyberfield. TTP provides info on the stage of attack, the attack tactics, and procedure which the attack tactics were carried out. Beside the graph which is shown, there is also a detail panels which display further technical information about the graph component you have selected. For instance, when you select a process in the graph, the panel will show the account used to run the process, the path of the binary file, command line parameters, etc. When you select component marked with I or T, the associated scoring and MITRE ID will be shown in the case of a TTP. Scoring is used to indicate severity and impact of an IOC or TTP. Before the Q&A session, let's see a demo video on a crypto miner incident and see how CyVestiGO leveraged on its agent residing in the NVIDIA DPU card to investigate what has happened.
Today's demonstration is on CyVestiGO's DPU agent running on NVIDIA Bluefield DPU. The agent consists of two parts. First, the agent residing in the DPU collects telemetry data from the server memory for host introspection. Then, such memory data are analyzed and translated into events of interest. This process happens out of band and at line speed. Next, these events of interest get pushed into a centralized database. After that, CyVestiGO, our cyber investigation solution, utilizes this information and others to process and provide a complete scope of an attack with its root cause. To showcase the agent's capability, we have set up a crypto miner scenario that consists of a victim machine, a server labeled as C2, and multiple crypto miner servers. This flowchart describes the chain of events in the scenario. First, the victim executed a legitimate program on his environment, Notepad++, triggering an automatic update check. However, in this scenario, a malicious DNS redirect was successful and forwarded the update process to the C2 server instead of the legitimate servers. As a result, the victim received the fake updates in the form of backup.exe. The malicious update then proceeds to download more files from the C2 server, that is the patch.zip and nppupdater.exe. Subsequently, the new file, nppupdater.exe, extracted the xmrig miner from the patch.zip and connected the miner to the crypto miner server pool. The firewall raised an alert, which observed that a known malicious IP address connection was associated with an internal IP. The offending malicious IP provided was 13.13.13.10. Interestingly, while checking the log records in the remote machine, it was all cleared. Given the information gathered from the alert, we created a new query in CyVestiGO. We have selected NVIDIA DPU here, as we are recreating the processes that occurred within the victim. The time frame we chose was from August 18, 2021, when the firewall alerts notified the SOC. We then enter the malicious IP as the destination IP. After a few seconds, a graph is created. CyVestiGO uses its timeline analysis to investigate the events of interest in chronological order. Thus, we will review this sequence of events in parts under this single unified platform. These are the events observed at the start of the attack. Here we can confirm that the Explorer.exe created the Notepad++ process. Scrutinizing the details further, we have identified the PID for Notepad++, Explorer.exe, and its creation time. In addition, we can determine the command line used to create this process. We can validate the remote desktop used for RDP through its client name. The user opened Notepad++, which activated gup.exe to trigger for updates. Unfortunately, while starting this update, its DNS was compromised and redirected to an unknown IP, 13.13.13.10, where it got a fake update. Looking into the details of this connection, we can identify the PID, the destination IP, and the source IP. As a result of this DNS compromise, backup.exe was downloaded and executed by gup.exe. Based on the path, we know the file is residing in the temp directory. Backup.exe performed a UAC bypass, where svc host.exe executed nppupdater.exe. Here we can visually observe the program's full path, which aids the scope of the attack to be determined. In adjacent, we can also observe xmrig.exe, which is the crypto miner process. Looking at the details on the crypto miner command line parameters, we can instantly identify the associated email address. These are the IP addresses to which the crypto miner used to connect. Hence, we can use port 45700 to block the crypto miner traffic from the network. Here, we can set the score for detection. With this feature, we can easily find the offending nodes in the graph. In this instance, it highlighted the malicious IP 13.13.13.10. We can further ping to highlight the nodes. This process was created by nppupdater.exe. In this command line, it disabled all Windows logging, a ubiquitous tactic used by an attacker to evade detection. There is another process, wef2til.exe observed. This particular command line creates a process to clear all Windows security events from the machine. In conclusion, our DPU agent used the out-of-band memory access mechanism to extract the events of interest from the server's memory and ingested them into the log repository. Despite the adversary disabled system logging and cleared security logs, the DPU agent detects this activity in the memory and generates the log. CyVestiGO queries the log repository. The core of CyVestiGO correlates and pivots across the events of interest and visualizes the timeline of events zeroing its root cause. Correlating multiple endpoints are required to identify the full scope of the attack. Together, CyVestiGO and NVIDIA DPU provides actionable insights for the analyst to mitigate security incidents effortlessly.